Okay, so with this whole shutdown going on, I found myself with a lot of free time on my hands. And I've been putting some of that time into working on this 1990 Honda Accord. Long story short, we've had it for about a decade. It's been sitting in the backyard, but we're kind of getting stuff done to it. I'm also working on the drift car back there, but that's on part 3. I finished the top end of the motor, new plugs, everything's back in, valve cover gaskets, headers are on. All that's done. I'm just editing part 3 of that video right now, and I gotta wait until I get a transmission jack to pull the tranny out and do the rear main seal and stuff like that, because it needs it quite badly. It's dripping and leaking oil everywhere. But I kind of want to see if this Honda will run. Honestly, I'm not too sure. It has 10-year-old gas in it, 10-year-old oil in it. Hasn't run at least 10 years. I know for that for a fact. We got this thing back in like 2010 and parked it ever since. Point being, it's an international car. My mom bought it with the intent to flip it, paid too much for it, needed way too much work. I already put a new power steering rack. I've been doing a bunch of work recently to it, but I haven't actually done anything to get it going. So I'm going to let the hot air come out of it. And yes, I did stick them on the gauge cluster because I am a weeb. But yeah, I'm going to pop the battery in it, just turn the key, see if it runs. Okay, so the battery's in now. Okay, battery's in, foot on brake, key in ignition. What is that? Let's try it again. Why is that? I gotta look it up, find out why sometimes it'll crank and sometimes it won't. Okay, so I got a couple issues I need to address here. Number one is the fact that the car doesn't crank every time when I turn the key. Sometimes it'll just go dead, sometimes it'll crank. And number two is I don't think I heard the fuel pump priming, so I'm going to check to see if the fuel pump is plugged in. I remember my dad did something with it a while ago, but I'm not too sure if he replugged it once he was... Oh, I forgot about these. Okay, I'm going to move these to another room, a shed or whatever, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here's the back of the trunk. You can see that there's the fuel pump right there, covered by spider webs. So let's see if I can get the rear seats down. Okay, so after going through this car for quite a while, doing some cleaning and other stuff, I decided to check to see if the fuel pump was getting power. It was not. And the fact that there's a random cutoff on the ignition makes me think two things. Either my fuel pump relay and ignition relay are bad, or that one of these like 500,000 car alarm anti-theft prevention things that this guy wired into this car is stopping it from starting. I'm gonna operate on the whole cutting out the car alarm theory first, and then I'm gonna check the relays. Which actually, even from the relays, I'm not hearing much clicking or anything. I do hear a click for the starter motor relay, but it doesn't always engage. So that might be it. Okay, so after a little bit more examining of this car, basically I went underneath the dash to look at the relay to check them. And I realized that this guy has done a bunch of stuff to all the wiring in this car. Like here's the main relay, the fuel pump relay or whatever. And then you can see there's a car alarm back here, then there's some sensors up here, there's a bunch of wires up running everywhere, there's this little light thing, type S, I think it's hooked up to whatever the thing I pulled out of the gauges were. I mean, there's just stuff everywhere, right? Just random stuff, little shock sensors in there, and I think what it might be is this little, I think it's a kill switch, might be the culprit, because you can see right here it's no longer connected, so I'm going to resolder that back on and see if that's the reason why it's not starting, or at least why the fuel pump's not running, because I'm almost sure that he's messed with the fuel pressure or the fuel pump relay in some way, shape or form, and if connecting that back up gets the fuel pump to run, I wouldn't be too surprised if that's the case. But I still need to figure out why the car is not starting every time. So for that, I'm going to have to look for the starter relay, wherever that is, and see if he messed with that too. Okay, so I was originally going to just resolder it to the switch, but the switch broke off. So I'm just going to twist them together, hope the car doesn't explode or catch on fire, and see if it runs. Oh, this is a bad idea. I still don't hear no fuel pump sounds. Okay, so down there, that little gray and burgundy thing is the fuel pump relay. That relay should control the fuel pump. Point being, I think that might be the problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the key in the ignition, hold my hand on it, and see if I feel it click. If I don't feel it click, I know at least that either one of two things is happening. One, that relay is not getting power, or two, the relay is bad. And I think that's the original relay that came on this car, considering it is a Mitsuba relay, which I think is what came OEM on these vehicles. So I'm guessing that that might be the problem. Key in ignition. Nope, relay is good. It's definitely clicking. It's definitely not the relay. Okay, so this is going to be completely off the video topic, but like what's weird is like there are millions of little bugs everywhere. And they're on like every bit of concrete. They're crawling over the house, and I don't know what the hell they are. But there's just so many of them. I've never seen this before. Like, even on the walls of the house. With the fact that I've pretty much gone through everything on the inside of the Honda, it's kind of eliminated a lot of the stuff that I was originally thinking. I can hear the relays clicking when I turn the ignition on. I can hear the fuel pump relay clicking, all that kind of stuff. So what I'm thinking, it has to be a loose connection at the starter itself. So what I'm going to do is pull off this cold air intake that I did not install. See if the starter is completely plugged in. Now I installed this thing probably about 10 years ago in high school. My sophomore or senior year when I had this car pretty much plugged into the school for quite a while. You can pretty much see the starter itself is still pretty new. There isn't really any dust or dirt on it yet. But there are a lot of spider webs. So I'm going to take a quick look, make sure it's properly tightened on and connected and stuff. And I think that might be the problem. Also, I think this radiator hose is completely empty. Look at that. There's a little spade connector right there. That could be the problem. See if I can push that in all the way. Okay, so I found something interesting. So there's this cable right here, right? And there's a little bit of play in it so that when I move it back and forth, it can move on the little axis of the thing. I don't know if that's causing a problem. You can see right there, it can switch and roll around and stuff. I think that might be it. Or it might be the spade connector. But from what I can tell, this thing connects directly to the battery. Yeah, see? That can move around pretty easily. So I think maybe that needs to be tightened up a bit more. And maybe the spade connector needs to be hit in a bit more. I'm not 100% sure, but I think this car has already been retrofitted to R134A. So the starter itself is actually new. I replaced it before we parked the car. But I think what's happened is the starter solenoid might have gone out for sitting for so long. It was an AutoZone remanufactured unit when we bought it, and you know, I've had great luck with AutoZone remanufactured parts. That's sarcasm for those of you who don't already watch my channel and know I struggle. Well, I'll pull the starter motor out, take it to AutoZone and test it. If I can get them to warranty it, even though it's been in the car for 10 years, which I doubt they will, at least I'll get another one running. Oh, this could be the problem right here. So you can see just how new the starter motor is, but that could be the issue right there. Still got the original AutoZone marking on it too. So yeah, one thing that is a little worrying is you can see where the teeth on the flywheel have been ground down a bit. That makes me a little nervous, not gonna lie. Okay, so I went to AutoZone, $114 later, another starter motor. The guy was actually going to warranty it, but I couldn't remember the phone number. So, oh well, what are you going to do? I'm a little concerned in the fact that it does have the same wear patterns as the last starter motor, so it might not be completely engaging. I'm going to pop this in there and see if it fixes the problem. Nope.
It doesn't crank at all now. I think, can you tap on the thing to see if it is tight, the battery?
It is. So this starter is dead too. This is starter motor number 2. I'll pull it out, take it AutoZone, get it tested, prove to them that they sold me a dead starter, and get it warranted. Honestly, I would never buy another AutoZone part again because I am so over this. Even when I did that truck, that Ram 1500, had a bad power steering pump. I had to get that warranted out not even a week after. I put it in, it was whining. I don't know who the fuck they're getting to test these starters and parts. I can guarantee you, this is triple tested, but they were tested by a bunch of idiots. So I'm gonna pull this one out again. Yay. The bright side, I'm getting kind of good at pulling out starters on these old Hondas. Okay, so this is the other starter motor. Picked it up from AutoZone. Oddly enough, they refunded the $114 because they found the original phone number from 10 years ago. So technically, this is free. And it definitely works way better than the other starter motor, the second one. And it's marginally better than the first one, although it's still presenting with a similar intermittent starting issue. It is better than it was earlier though. So let me just put that in here and show you what I'm talking about. Stopper, no! Okay, so this starter starts better than the first starter. The second starter didn't start at all, but this starter still has the issue where it's not starting all the time, and now it's grinding quite badly. So, I don't even know what to say anymore. This is starter number 3. Do I really want to go back to AutoZone and be like, hey, you sold me another bump starter? Just a couple quick things. To check to see if you have fuel pressure, what you do is you take this little 17mm, I think, bolt off while the ignition is on, and if you have fuel squirting out of there, that means you have fuel pressure, which generally means your pump is good. If it squirts a little bit and then stops and levels off, that means your pump's not running. If in my case it doesn't squirt at all, that means your pump's not running. Now, on the other hand, when I came back over here to check at the little access panel thing, I was under the impression that this right here was the fuel pump. I was like, oh wow, that's a really small fuel pump. Turns out, no. That's not the fuel pump, that is the float assembly. The fuel pump is actually right around over there, right? And to get to that, I gotta drop the tank. So, that kind of made the choice of where to end the video. Cause yeah, this car is like covered in spider webs, even right there. I'm probably gonna power wash the side of it before. Actually, even right in the trunk, there's spider webs. So I'm gonna power wash the crap out of the trunk before I actually start to go underneath it and take stuff out. From what I see online, it should be pretty easy to take out the tank. I'm not gonna lie, I may have contemplated just cutting an access hole right there, but I didn't. Point being, from what I can tell, so many spider webs. Ew. Right there. Those weren't there a couple days ago, so that definitely means that all this is fresh. I'm gonna power wash the car out of the car. Then I'm gonna jack it up, and the fuel lines are mostly on this side. Disconnect those lines, take down the two little tank hangers or whatever they're called, and take some other stuff out and slide the thing out. Again, that is definitely going to be a part 2 video because I am not going to do that right now. Instead, I'm going to focus on Le Drift Mustang and off-road rally car, which I'm looking for a bracket so I can mount the other fog light. Anyway, if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe. If you like the video, hit like. I'm pretty sure it's probably at the 10-minute mark by now, and everyone's attention span is like, nope, no more. Look at that dog. Yep. Just doing what dogs do. Right there. At least we know the issue is the AutoZone quality starters. I'm probably going to end up buying a Denso rebuilt starter or remanufactured starter on Amazon and just get rid of this. I'm done wasting my time with these crap AutoZone starters, man. Every single one is a different issue. The first one would intermittently crank, but rarely ever crank. Second one was dead on arrival. This one cranks really strong, right? But grinds for a bit. And since I'm kind of thinking about manual swapping this car anyway, it can't be that hard to manual swap these things, right? Also, I'm really trying to fight the temptation to buy a $37 eBay wing and stick it on the back of this car. The temptation is so strong, I'm not even lying. Like, I would put it on the back of the drift car, but I want to put like a big battle arrow wing on that thing, and the Saab is a wagon, so that wouldn't work. But like, go with the cheapy $37 eBay aluminum wing install would be a really fun video to do, and I would lose so much street cred, but I kind of want to do it, man.